Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much about the product today. I was really going to talk more about the spin-off company, DigitalEd, give you some background on where we are. So my job here is really to introduce DigitalEd. It is the MapleSoft digital education spin-off company. It has sort of two names. Our operating name will be what you see branded around the room, DigitalEd. But the official new company name is actually The Digital Company Limited, so, or DECA for short. What we've done is all digital online products from MapleSoft have been transferred into the new company. So the IP, the people, the product development, all of that has been moved into the digital education company. And you're going to see a switch over. I mean, a lot of the branding that I'll talk about today, you will see switch over on the website the end of June. So we're right on the edge of releasing the next version of the product. I'll go over the product branding with you, and you will see the website switch over to look like two separate companies. There'll be MapleSoft, and there will be DigitalEd, the digital education company. And this is how we'll divide it out. DigitalEd will be the primary domain for the company. It will be the email addresses for the people within the company. Not to be worried, the MapleSoft addresses will still work. There's a long-term partnership with MapleSoft. DigitalEducation.com will be the more formal site. This is where we'll have the blogs, the podcasts, the more thought leadership components of the new company and the new website. So first off, I want to encourage you, if you have any questions as I move through, put your hand up. I'm happy to deal with the questions as we go through. So this is the new company. So DigitalEd is what you're going to be seeing in most of our branding. The concept here is that it'll be very much a purpose-driven company. We wanted to create a new company that had a single focus on improving STEM-based education. Within MapleSoft, as many of you know, we have about a dozen different products, different development teams, different marketing components. We are hoping that by moving the online education products into a different company, that we can have an intense single focus on improving that product. You know, based on feedback from all of you, the concept is to have a dedicated team that will move this product ahead. With the concept, again, no distractions or no conflicts with some of the other development priorities of MapleSoft. So we've expanded investment greatly within the DigitalEd product line. So more resources are being applied across the board to development, to marketing, to sales. We hope that this will provide you better service, faster response time, more features of the products will come online quicker than they did before. And the relationship with MapleSoft is planned to continue as a very cooperative agreement. So we have a 10-year cooperation agreement where MapleSoft is supporting the operations of DigitalEd, and DigitalEd are supporting the operations of MapleSoft. So we are trying very much to start two successful companies that can better focus on their key products. It is important to note that DigitalEd will be the exclusive user of Maple for online education. So MapleSoft will not do any online education products with Maple, but Maple, the full product will be embedded within Möbius, and it will be updated on every release when Maple updates their product. So over the next 20 years, the most current version of Maple will always be embedded in the Möbius product, and you'll have full access to the capabilities of Maple within the Möbius platform. It is also fully independent from CyberNet. And one of the reasons we did this, as I said, was to increase the focus and intensity on one product line, but also the parent company of MapleSoft. As many of you know, MapleSoft was purchased by Cybernet in 2010. Cybernet is much more interested in the professional market, and they have a smaller interest in investing in the online educational market. So the best solution to the problem was to split this off into a separate company, bring new investment into it that was truly all about online education. So the new product branding is Möbius. Now, I don't want anyone to be concerned if you're currently using Maple TA or Maple Placement Test. Those products will still be there, but the new product branding will be Möbius Placement for what will replace the Placement Test product. Möbius Assessment will be the replacement for Maple TA. Same product, except it'll be called Möbius Assessment. And Möbius Courseware will have all the features of the entire product. So it's a product stack that really starts with Möbius Assessment, and then if you have content with that, be Möbius Placement, and then we'll move up to Möbius Courseware. So the pricing would not change. If you're currently on TA, it will still be Möbius Assessment. Just the naming and branding of the product will change. It's important to note, this is one code stream, and the way we will deploy it, it gives you very flexible options on how you wish to deploy the product, but it will be more options that we turn on and off in the licensing of the product to you. We do see Möbius as a digital courseware platform that is really dedicated to helping you create, maintain, and deploy the best possible digital assets for STEM education. That is how we see the Möbius product, the Möbius platform. And these are the people that have transferred over. As I said, anyone who worked with the digital online product within MapleSoft have transferred over to the new product, the new company. So it represents about 37 people from MapleSoft have moved over to DigitalEd. Today, or when I wrote this presentation, we had 8 new hires, about 45 people. We're constantly hiring, so that will probably move up in the future. But the key people, Darren McIntyre is the VP of Sales and Customer Service. Louise is the Senior Director of Digital Content. Darren Willis will be in charge of all development activities, so the engineering department, and he'll be speaking later on today, right? Yeah. Johnny and Aaron, I'll talk a little bit more. We consider product management to be a very key function within DigitalEd, and Johnny will take more of a customer-centric role with product management, and Aaron will take more of a product-centric role. And again, they'll both talk to you about that. Chris Scoot will take on the role of Director of Customer Success. He's also here today. And a new hire for Director of Marketing will be coming on board in the next couple of weeks, so June 25th. Myself, I'll be splitting my time 50% between MapleSoft and 50% to DigitalEd. My mission is to ensure that the two companies play nice together and actually cooperate in the long term. We will be actively looking to hire a COO that will be dedicated 100% of the time to the business activities of DigitalEd. Any questions? Okay, I'd like to introduce the board of directors. So one of the reasons we were able to do this was we have set up a number of investors who are now members of the board. They all have deep interests in education, in improving education, and hopefully you will get a chance to meet all of them over the next 2 days. Now, I should warn you that we have a large number of separate meetings with the board of directors and various people within this room. So they will not be in all of the sessions today, but do try to seek them out, and if you have any questions about their philosophy in the company and how they became to be involved in it, now would be the time to talk to them. So introductions of Paul Woolner, this stand Paul. Paul will be leading a session tomorrow. Paul has a deep background in education, and definitely is, we see him leading some of the development features of the future product in the future platform. Nicholas Payne. Nicholas is a Canadian who lives in London, UK at this point in time. A deep interest in education because he has a number of sons who are currently going through the education program. And is one of the main investors within DigitalEd. And Steve Rogers, Steve is passionately interested in how we can take this platform and actually make a difference in digital education, how we can push it out to all regions of the world. So hopefully you'll get a chance to meet them and talk to them during this next 2 days. Now I wanted to go over the departments within DigitalEd with a little bit more detail. As I said, Darren Willis will be in charge of all development activities. So we're expanding the development team, so you'll get your new features to the products sooner. But important to note, we've also added a site reliability manager. So we're moving to the Google Cloud Platform for a number of reasons, which I'll detail. But part of the development is to ensure that we both move to this cloud platform and also support it in such a way that we can improve the quality of service for the product that you're using. So as you can see, it's a greatly expanded development team, and with no other distractions. They are focused on the development and bug fixing of the Möbius Platform exclusively. So some of the reasons, some huge advantages of moving to the Google Cloud Platform. Generally, improved reliability, stability, robustness of the platform, the scalability of the platform. We're seeing improvements of performance of over 10 times on the cloud platform. So I think, as we move each of you over to the cloud platform over the next year or two, you should see these performance improvements immediately with your students. Also, a much more secure product. With GDPR regulations coming in, this new version will be fully GDPR compliant. And Darren Willis will talk a bit more about how that security is achieved, but it's a much more secure and robust platform. We can locate the cloud servers in various zones, so any requirements you have to ensure that the server is within your country zone, we can do that with the Google Cloud Platform. And we have the ability of seeing and resolving issues very quickly. And many of these issues can actually be automated, of how we roll out new classes, new students, expanding the size of your license. These functions can be automated within the cloud platform. So we've been actively testing this platform for really the last half year. All new customers are being set up on this platform. We're actively moving existing customers. Both our internal development, content development, as well as some of our major partners like U of W have moved over to the cloud platform. So it's definitely ready for real-time or prime-time usage. So it's one of the new developments that we've been able to focus on within the new DigitalEd structure. So product management, as I said, we consider within the structure there's sales and customer service to ensure that our users of the platform have the best possible experience. There's a development team ensuring that we can address new features, fix problems with the platforms in a very timely fashion. But the glue between those two departments is product management. We see this as a very high function responsibility. They are the ones who will decide how much resources we should be putting into customer service versus how much resources we should be putting into product development. So to lead this team, we have both Aaron and Johnny. Aaron will take a more product-centric role. We'll work very closely with development. The concept is that Johnny will take more of a customer role, ensuring that you have a single point of contact for any both product suggestions, enhancements, any problems or bug fixes that need to flow through the platform will flow through Johnny. Within this, they have a number of initiatives. One is to greatly improve the user experience. The way we're deploying the product, we feel it should have a zero learning curve for your students. And that is the goal, so that as we deploy the product, students will use it in a way which seems intuitive to them. So the goal is that there's not a learning curve in using the platform. Both Darren and Aaron will be talking about how we plan to have continuous rollouts of new features. So as opposed to you having to wait a year cycle for bug fixes and new features to the product, we're hoping to have a much more continuous cycle of product enhancements. So to do that, you have to trust the quality of the product and the testing of the product to ensure that new versions are not going to break existing content. So a huge amount of focus will be on the product quality and backward compatibility with existing content. And you're going to hear a bit more about this over the next 2 days. Very much we're on a journey. I mean, we're hoping to, over the next 5 years, greatly improve STEM-based education. You are the users of that STEM-based education. We're going to have a number of research projects where we actually try to determine hard data. Are we improving student outcomes or not? But your input and your participation will be very important in that journey. We want to both do research projects with people in this room. We want to actually measure the results of before and after. So one of the goals of product management is to work closely in a coordinated way so that research projects inform each other and we can sort of move together in developing a better product. And there's only a slight difference between deep research projects where we're looking at improved student outcomes to just working closely with you. But product management will be the focus for how we research what the product should be doing and then translate that into product features that we find required and usable. And we do recognize, in product management, definitely recognize that we have a number of customers for this product. I mean, many of you are authors of content, so you have one way of using it. Students have a different way. Instructional designers have a different method of using the product. So we do recognize that each user group has different needs and priorities, and we're going to try to address those in a balanced way, so that the product moves ahead in a way that makes your students happy, but also allows you to author content of higher quality, faster, with less effort. So sales and marketing, many of the faces are familiar to you. Linda will look after, will be the manager of the European region, so many of you know her. We have two major resellers, Jose, who's looking after Benelux as well as Germany, and Asim, who's also in the room, that will be looking after Australia, Middle East, and the Asian region. So we're concentrated down to two major resellers that we plan to work very closely with. And we also are building out the customer success team. These are the people that will be onboarding new classes, new customers, ensuring that the deployment of the content is seamless without any hiccups. So we understand that there's really two aspects of the product. One is developing content quickly, easily, high quality content, but one is effortless deployment. The content, once that content is developed, you just want to push it out to your class and have deployment with really zero issues generally. And so a great deal of effort is being put into developing the platform so that the deployment is simply a non-issue. Marketing team, Heather is representing marketing now, but many of the long-term MapleSoft employees, as many of you know, will continue with the DigitalEd marketing team. And digital content, this has been a major change for us. We really have focused on improving the content team at MapleSoft. Generally, the content team is up from 4 people to a dozen. They have, more than half have advanced degrees, all have some teaching in their history. So they understand both how the product could be used, and they're experts on what the platform can do. So it's fully scalable. They work on some very large projects. That's not a change. Thank you. So I said all members of the content team, and Louise will show some of this when she leads her panel tomorrow, have experience teaching and how the product would be used. So hopefully they combine deep expertise in the platform itself with a true knowledge of teaching in various disciplines. And you're going to see that as we begin rolling out content really right now within this year. In the second half of the year, we'll be rolling out some of the digital content developed by this content team. And here's an example of that. We've begun sort of marketing content that has been developed for both publishers on the platform, by the University of Waterloo, content that will be made available generally across our customer base, as well as open educational resources such as OpenStax, that we've developed content that will help new users not start at zero. So you no longer have to just adopt the platform and develop content from scratch. Now the ability of adopting content that has already been developed, and in the very near future, we will be able to measure the analytics of how well that content functions for students. So you'll be able to choose content not just by looking at the content itself, but by actually looking at the analytics of how that content has been used with other students, with other classes. Here's a sampling of the initial Möbius courseware. We do see this accelerating. We have a large, many of you here in this room, we have a large number of partners who are currently working on content that will be released in early 2019. So we do see this as an important function. Not only are we developing a platform for the creation and deployment of content, but we're truly eating our own dog food. We have a group that are experts at using the platform and are working hard to develop content that is useful to both you, but also to new customers coming onto the platform.
How easy is it to adjust this content once you start using part of it? Maybe you have a different way of treating series, for example.
I think, okay, and the questions for those you've been heard, like how easy is it to use this content if you don't want to use all of it? I think that is the key component of Möbius, that you can adopt pieces of the content. The whole concept is that the format allows you to use the pieces that you want and add in the pieces that you would like to add. So, the saying we use is, your content, your rules, how it should be used. So definitely the goal is that the content will be done in such a way that you can use all of it, portions of it, and it would just blend seamlessly. So, one of the, what we find truly exciting that, with Möbius, we have this ability of tracking both how students use the STEM content and how students do with the STEM, with the content. So we can actually track click-level analytics of how well a piece of content is performing. And we can track that data. So we have this ability of measuring how well education is working. And we want to use that information to truly determine how can we best improve STEM education moving ahead. And it's not entirely obvious, and it can mean different things to different people. Just some of the methods, it could be all about minimizing the amount of effort it is for you as instructors to create and deploy content. That's very important. If it's easy for you to both create, deploy, and maintain that content, it gives you the ability of having more time to just create higher quality content. But it's not just that. We want to look at how are we improving student outcomes, especially in North America, and I suspect also in Europe. We have massive dropout rates of people who start in STEM but do not finish. So we would like to really study, can we do something within the platform to improve student outcomes, to both improve the mark generally in classes, but also to reduce the dropout rate. The experience should be enjoyable to the student itself. It should not be jarring to them. It should be presenting information to them in such a way that they're happy with the experience. Generally, we receive high marks on how students use the platform, but there's room for improvement. As I said, we feel there should not be any learning curve at all. It should just, your students should like the content that is served up to them in this manner. The one unique advantage that Möbius has is the full power of Maple embedded within the platform. Now, as you know, we use Maple for many aspects within the platform, such as randomizing questions, giving automatically marking them, giving instant feedback. But we feel generally that we have only scratched the surface of what Maple can do. And I think one of our jobs moving ahead is to ensure that when you're creating content using Maple, that it's easy to do, that you don't have to be an expert Maple programmer to bring that content online. So we do see the future in how can we fully utilize Maple as a symbolic math engine to allow better digital content to be created easily and quickly. So as I said, we think we've just scraped the surface, and we have a huge amount of ability to improve how we bring STEM subjects to life. And even generally, how should STEM subjects be taught, in the digital age? So suddenly, we are moving from static textbooks to things where we can animate and visualize and have talking lectures. We use these assets in different ways. But there's a great deal of research and investigation required to, is this actually improving the student outcomes? So just because it's more powerful doesn't necessarily make it better. And I think we really want to address the problem. How do we make STEM education better, more enjoyable, more effective for students? And I think the holy grail for us is, because we're teaching STEM subjects, we have the ability of asking questions to which there is an answer. Not all courses have that luxury. So we can gauge the comprehension level of students as they move through the material. I think the holy grail here is that since we have that knowledge of comprehension as students move through the content, we can hopefully adaptively adjust what content we present to them in the future. We had this, click level analytics of how well content is working. Now, it wouldn't be wonderful if every student can have a different path through the content that is adaptively adjusted to their needs. And this is how we hope the future will develop. And we see massive potential in improving STEM education if we can adaptively adjust the content to particular student needs. And even just as a guide to instructors, Steve Farino tells a very funny story of how he had taught a course for a decade, and he would start with an example that he just assumed the entire class understood. And it was very late in that decade where he actually did a test and got the results back from the students and realized that if there was no normal curve around the right answer, it was just random noise across the board. No one, if he had known that 10 years ago, he would have changed how he taught his course. So if we can automatically warn a learning breakdown with students, understand that with the level of data that we're collecting as students move through the materials, there's no way you as an instructor can do a deep dive on the data itself. It's going to be just too much data coming at you. The only way will be for us to help interpret that data, to actually flag that maybe this piece of material is not working well, that there's a potential learning breakdown here. So we're hoping to develop the product so that we can have these learning breakdown flags without having false positives. So this is one other area we see as a huge potential for improvement in STEM education. So I think what we're also saying is that we have a lot of ability to do this, to measure how well the material is working, but we don't have the answers. So our concept is to work with our key partners, people in this room, to figure that out, to figure out how the platform should move. I mean, what are the most important development features? We have no lack of, we have a huge list of things we could be doing. We want to prioritize them so that we're doing them in the right order. So currently we have 287 schools using Möbius, approximately, approaching 250,000 students a term. So we have a huge amount of data coming in, and our concept is to work closely with you, our key users, key partners, in determining how, what is the evolution of the Möbius platform. And we think, some of this will be things like artificial intelligence, machine learning. We have all this data. We think we can use that in an intelligent way on an ongoing basis, not to totally self-tutor, but to actually just help as a guide to the instructors of how to best improve the content. What learning methods are actually working. And part of it is things we haven't thought about yet. The idea is that, I think as we begin using this in larger and larger numbers of students, we will find methods that could revolutionize the way STEM education is done, but things that we have not determined yet.
Jim, can I have a question about this, please?
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of people worry about where they have a server and the data. As a teacher, I don't care, but I can imagine if you have the AI data of performance of the students, that would be quite sensible information.
Yes, it would be. And definitely, it actually, from our point of view, the GDPR regulation came at the perfect time. Like, we really done a deep dive on security and how to handle the data. There's no question that when you have all this data, you could use it to make education more effective. But you're absolutely right. I mean, where does that limit stop? How much do you have to autonomize the data before you can actually use it? So there's not a firm answer here right now, but as we move into using this click level analytics, we will have to determine how well we how we protect the user. The good thing, and I sort of mentioned it before, we do look at the data through two lenses. One of them is just what you said, student data moving through the content. And that, I think, we have to be very sensitive to privacy protection. But we also look at the data from the content lens. So if you have a piece of content, we strip away any of the identities of the users, but we can measure that content and how well it works with huge numbers of students. And that data, we're much more free to use in an intelligent way. So the Möbius platform, as I say, we do see a couple of major components, pieces to it, and this is all up for discussions over the next 2 days. One, we basically feel that for STEM courses to be effective, they should have a fully embedded math engine. And that math engine allows you to do many things, like automatically generate questions, randomize them, automatically mark them, provide instant feedback. So when students are doing homework at 2 in the morning, they get instant feedback on how well they're doing. And as I said, we feel we've only scratched the surface of what we can do with the math engine within the Möbius platform. So this will be one of our major methods of improving the platform, going ahead and making better use of the Möbius symbolic math engine. The next is this ability to create, maintain, and deploy high-quality STEM content. The easier it is for you to create this content, probably the better the quality will be. The more analytics you can gather on how well it's working, the better the quality will be. So the deployment, that's why we've moved to, spend a great deal of investment in moving to a high reliability cloud platform, so that once you've developed the content, you can simply push it out and have it deployed to large numbers of students, and that will automatically scale and be a responsive, functional platform for the deployment. And we've kept this very flexible deployment concept. If you only want to do, questions and homework, Möbius assessment is geared to allow you to do that. If you want to develop full content with embedded, questions and assignments, Möbius courseware is designed to do that. So we're hoping that we have a very flexible deployment concept that will not change in the future. So the second pillar of Möbius is this ability for us to create, deploy, measure, and maintain that content with the least possible effort. And this ability of doing, clip-level analytics. As students move through, if questions are spread out through the materials, nowhere else can you see that level of comprehension building in students over the data that we can gather within the platform. And generally, and this comes back to this, we believe very strongly in the ability of sharing content. And that comes from ensuring that the platform allows you to build content in a format that encourages you to be able to find it, to be able to reuse it, to be able to integrate that with your own developments. So we see this as being core, that the format of the content you develop will allow you to store it, to find it, to have a better repository, so that you can then integrate that into different, or either how you're going to improve your own content into other courses. So this ability is your content, your rules, how you want to use it, is one of our deeply held beliefs within the platform. So as I said, we feel it's a journey. We're really excited to work with our key partners in determining how we can best improve STEM education. As a company, DigitalEd is both dedicated to researching and testing, STEM education. How can we make it better? We believe, and this is at the base of our belief, we believe that education can be fundamentally better, that we have the ability of improving education from where it is today. And we're committed to working with everyone in this room and some of our key partners in developing that vision.